Forming first impressions is something we all do on a regular basis. Humans developed this ability over time, as being able to distinguish friend from foe was crucial to staying alive throughout most of history. Our brains began making judgments almost immediately, using a combination of mood, looks, and voice to form a first impression in only 7 seconds.
Come on. Think. Brain blast!
Shoot, I think I just called this lady a Karen out loud. First impressions are so powerful that they can cause us to act on reflex, using prior experiences to form a reaction to current circumstances. Like many others, I worry often about making a bad first impression. Growing up with a strong case of ADHD meant I spent many years blurting things out as soon as they popped into my head, making quite a few bad impressions along the way. It was such a problem that I even made a bad self-impression the first time I looked in a mirror, and it's only gotten worse since. Researchers have found something called the liking gap, where people are overly self-critical when it comes to their performance in an initial conversation, and they think they made a bad first impression even when they actually haven't. It was comforting to hear about this, but there are still times when I actually do leave a bad first impression. Was there anything I could do to make a better first impression on those people in the future? If there was anything, I was determined to find out. Welcome to the Rowell Report. As I stated earlier, researchers point to voice as one of the most important signals in forming a first impression. I myself have a very nasal voice as a result of restricted breathing through my nose, and throughout my life, I've always worried that this contributes to making a bad first impression. So I began researching different ways to improve my voice, and soon after had one of the luckiest breaks in my life. I had been so caught up in one kind of impression that I had missed out on a different kind that would actually be way more useful in my situation. Certain people are able to mimic public figures almost perfectly, making extreme alterations to their voice in order to do so.
Sometimes it makes me sad, but then I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged.
If I could teach myself how to do this, I could stop worrying so much that my voice was causing a bad first impression. So I practiced day and night at a fiendish pace learning to do impressions. Unfortunately, I barely slept during this week, which led me to develop some interesting side effects, one of which being a wildly irrational sense of confidence, and I completely believed that my impressions were world class. And in order to prove that they were world class, I created an online competition for the best impressions, live over Zoom, and put up cash prizes for the top placers. I searched far and wide for impressionist groups, however it appears that impressionists are a very secretive community. I was forced to post in groups for stand-up comedians and voice actors, hoping that I would be able to find enough impressionists to prove that I truly belonged in the upper echelon of their world. I was counting down the hours until the competition was to begin, tingling with a nervous energy. 6 p.m. came and I hopped in the Zoom room. However, barely anyone showed up. My great-grandfather's aunt once said something that has been passed down in my family for generations, and that was, "Don't put the start before the horse." Those were her final words before passing away from injuries sustained by walking out in front of a horse race, and it appears that in a metaphorical sense, I had made the same foolish mistake. However, that meant I had much less competition to go through in order to keep my money, which was great as I currently don't have a job, and losing $150 would really sting. The only other competitors were my friend Edwin, and the one person to respond to any of my online posts, a comedian from Florida named Steven. I was the first performer of the competition, kicking things off with an impression of famous actor Michael Cera.
This is Michael Cera, star of Superbad. I'm not sure if you've seen that show, but I was in that show. Did you know I was actually I was actually #1 on People's 30 under 30.
Next up was Steven, the comedian who had responded to my online post. He began with a classic impression, Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston doing Mark Antony from 1970s Julius Caesar, but playing Mary Kill. So, I come not to marry Caesar, but to him. For I am an honorable man. I shall marry Cleopatra. And as an honorable man, I shall kill Brutus.
The final performer was Edwin, considered by many to be the dark horse of the competition.
It would be Kermit the Frog just talking about his life.
Oh, well, hi, everybody. It's Big Kermit here. Just hanging down here at the bayous, you know, and making love to some sweet, sweet swine, as the dailies, you know.
My next impression was iconic character Mickey Mouse, originally voiced by Walt Disney himself.
Hi, this is me. It's Mickey Mouse, star of Steamboat Willie and over 121 theatrical features.
Steven's next impression was the Joker, but with a bit of a twist.
Heath Ledger's Joker, lamenting just now discovering Etsy. Do you want to know how I got these scarves? You see, it's more complicated than you probably think. You see, there's this website that I have recently discovered. I admit I'm a bit of a procrastinator and a fool. But the internet, do you think Etsy has made the internet a better place? Look at me. Look at me!
Edwin's next impression was the character Mario, famously known as one of the Super Mario Brothers alongside his brother, Luigi.
For the next impression, we're going to do Mario from Super Mario, realizing he's doing nothing with his life. I killed the mushroom, I killed the Bowser 20 times, 50 times, and then she go back to the castle. I don't get. Also, why are there no colored people in the Mario world? I don't understand. I've never seen a black guy in my life. What am I doing with my life?
For my final impression, I went with one that was deeply personal to me, and the one that I'd worked the hardest on since I began my impressions journey. My favorite comedian, Cat Williams.
This is Cat Williams, While I am mostly known as a stand-up comedian, I have also acted in film and television. In 2018, I won an Emmy for my role as the alligator man in the show Atlanta.
Unfortunately, due to YouTube's content standards, I'm unable to include Steven's final impression of... Well, I'll just let him say it.
This is extreme star, Blue Bailey XXX, getting quadruple and lamenting everything about his life.
Edwin's final impression was of Scarface, as performed by Al Pacino.
In the dinner scene, when he leaves blacked out drunk. You people need someone like me. Someone to point your fingers at and say, that's the bad guy.
Finally, all the performers were done. We waited with bated breath as the judge ran through the calculations of who the best impressionist was. The votes came in, and I was hopeful that my impression of Cat Williams was enough to bring me the win.
But easy
All
come,
right,
easy
everybody
go, right?
ready for the results?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's come down to Ryle Smith in third place. We've got Edwin Romero in second, and that leaves us Stephen Osborne in first.
Oh, awesome.
I'd like to thank you everybody for participating, and I'm sure everyone's aware there's a cash prize, so we'll reach out to you after and organize that payment. But Stephen, you got $100.
I'm unfortunately under the impression that I must have made a bad first impression on the other impressionists. Why else would I have not won the competition? It was clear that while I had come a long way when it came to impressions, I still had a long way to go when it came to impressions. But maybe that journey of self-improvement is what life is all about. Thanks for checking out the Rowell Report.